Okay, so today we're going to start the practice with some breath. Um, and we're going to, first do some breath just sitting, but then we're going to do some breath lying down before we kind of move into the movement part of our practice. So close your eyes and find a comfortable seat, and whatever has been happening in your mind, in your body, in your emotions, in your um, circumstances, your experiences, your relationships. Let's see if we can just take notice of the impact of all of these things on how we feel. So as you close your eyes, do a little internal check-in with yourself. Have you felt grounded or not grounded? Have you been mind busy where you haven't given yourself much time for grounding and presence? How has the nervous system been for you? Is it calm and steady or kind of turbulent? How's your physical body feeling? So let's just take a moment to notice all of the things. Sometimes just a simple pause to turn inward and check in with how you're doing is really important so that we can course correct or make an adjustment or offer ourselves support in whatever way we need. So, whatever you're finding in this check in, how can you orient your yoga practice to support your well being? Let's begin noticing how we're breathing and see if you can feed yourself the nourishment of the breath. Try to open all your gates. Just notice where attention tends to live in you, what restricts or blocks the flow of energy, the flow of breath. Notice the full cycle of your breathing. Pay attention to how your inhale feels, that slight little pause between the inhale and the exhale. Pay attention to how the fullness of the exhale feels. And the subtlety of that space between the exhale and the inhale. How can your breath support your well-being? What is it offering you just here and now? When you feel ready, keep breathing. Keep that nice steady pace you're beginning to find. Bring your hands together at the midline and notice this mudra. Notice the hands, the sense of symmetry, the way our eyes are drawn into the center, our third eye. Lift the heart into this space. And then in the centered, grounded place, bring your breath and bring an intention. Go ahead and release the hands and let's find our way onto our back. And as you stretch out and lengthen, we'll do a few, warm-up stretches just to get us in our body before we do a little breath work here in this position. So let's start with some nice stretching. Reach your arms overhead and lengthen the right side and lengthen the left side, and just get to know how your body feels when you stretch open in this way. Move your hips, move your shoulders, find your breath. And then bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit and give the medicine of rocking to your nervous system. See if you can really receive the subtlety of rocking left and right. And then remember, it's not just rocking of the knees, but rocking of the whole body. Right, and then hang on to the knees and let's circle. Feel some freedom across your sacrum. Relax your hips, circle the other way. And just let the circling give you a sense of weight through the pelvis, noticing the sacrum on the ground. And then we'll open up our knees and bring them back in so we get to invite the hips to start to warm in their range of motion. And then right knee comes into your chest. Give your left leg a nice stretch on the ground and move about in your ankles and your toes, warming up your feet, getting all those joints to have a little range of motion. Squeeze that knee snugly in and then cross the right knee over to the left and start to invite some space in your spine. Big breaths here. Maybe you want to move that right arm around. Maybe you want to turn your head, whatever kind of range of motion you want to start to invite in your body. And then bring that knee back into the chest, pick up your head and squeeze on in and ignite just a little bit of core. And then your head rests down. Let's switch sides. Left knee in, right leg long. Move around in your ankles again. Make sure your feet get all the freedom they can find. Wiggle your toes. Move the soles of your feet. Get them to stretch open and mobilize. Maybe you can feel this all the way in your calves and shins by the movement of your ankle bones. And then we'll cross the left knee over to the right and stretch open to a twist here. And again, any movement that you want in your head and in that left arm. And then bring that knee back into your chest. Pick up your head, a nice little squeeze. And then we'll rest that head down. Stretch your legs straight, arms wide, everything out. Reach into space, starfish your body. Let's roll your wrists and your ankles, wiggle your fingers and your toes, knowing the edges. A big breath. Exhale, draw in, round your spine, pick up your head, knees in. One more time, stretch broadly. Exhale, draw in snugly. Let's do that once more. Expand out on the in-breath. And then exhale. On the out-breath, tuck in. And then put your feet down, arms out, spread like a T or maybe even cactus your arms, whatever helps your chest open. And let's rock our knees left and right. And you can swing a little deeper into a twist if you'd like. Just kind of find some range of motion in your hips and in your spine and your pelvis. All right, and then pause here for a moment. And you can knock your knees together. You can have your feet hip width apart or wider. You can straighten your legs. You can Baddha Konasana your legs. So just kind of find a comfortable position. Okay, arms don't have to be right up against you. They can be spread a little wider. Just find a body position that you feel like you can surrender into. And then imagine that you're lying on nice soft grass or on a towel on sand on a beach or a warm rock or floating in water or any nature experience that just calls to you for a moment to let your body ground into that. And then, even though we've got some imagination going on, return to the sense of what you're actually feeling underneath you. What's the texture of your mat feel like? What's under your mat? Do you have a rug or a carpet or wood floor? what's happening underneath you, what's supporting you, and just feel the support. And then when you're ready, if you want to, you can put your hands on your belly or your ribs. You don't have to. You can stay in any position that's comfortable. But we'll just do some belly breathing very simply. Open up the pelvic floor. Open up Uddiyana Bandha. Let that diaphragm move. Open up your throat. Just let all the gates open. All three of those major bandhas, Mula Bandha, pelvic floor, Uddiyana Bandha, your diaphragm, Jalandhara Bandha, your throat. Just let all of the gates open. And let the breath happen. And just notice where you're at. You don't have to manipulate anything. Just notice where you're at. Where is the breath going? Do you have any tension? Are you tense in your back or in your neck? Are you tense in your hands or your shoulders? Is your pelvis trying to tilt in some specific way? Are your legs stressed? Just see what you can do to melt your body so that you're fully able to receive the breathing. See if you can watch, observe, pay attention to your breath pattern. What does it feel like on the inhale? The pause, the exhale, pause. Let's see if we can let this breath travel with us in our practice. So see if you can tune in. Maybe if your eyes can close sometimes that can help us with the interoception, kind of paying attention to what's happening on the inside. So as you move into your practice today, we might get a little core support activated. So as we go, let's see if we can be aware of our breath. Even when our core has to engage, we can still find this rhythm of the diaphragmatic movement of our breathing. Okay. Stretch your limbs again. One more time. Take a deep breath. Maybe a little squeeze, maybe a little breath hold to see what feels good. And then we'll roll to our side and come up to our hands and our knees. And as you find all fours and start to invite movement in this pattern, notice whatever is drawing your attention. Is it as part of your spine? How's your back feeling? Is it the way your breath is moving? Maybe you're noticing the grounding of your hands and your legs. Whatever you're paying attention to, try to let your awareness stay on the inside. So if it's comfortable to close your eyes or soften your gaze, just see what you can do to keep the practice honing in on what's happening inside you. Let the breath move. And then after a few rounds of cats and cows, move around in any way that feels good, maybe circling or wagging your tail, moving around in your ribs. And then stretch back to a child's pose and lengthen through your body. Reach here. We'll walk our hands over to one side of our mat to open up our ribs on one side and just feel that nice stretch. Breathe into it. And then we'll come over to the other side and enjoy what that feels like in our body. All right, and then maybe find your way all the way up onto all fours again. And let's find a twist. Arm up, move around in your hand if you'd like. Drop that shoulder down, twisting to the side. Big breaths, opening up your shoulders. And then we'll reach that arm back to the sky. Hand comes down onto the ground. We'll switch sides, arm up. Exhale, slide that arm under. Enjoy here, breathing deeply. A full inhale, full exhale. And then we'll reach that arm back up in the air, hand to the sky. Place that hand down and let's lift and come up into a dog pose. Take a little time. Let's pedal your feet. Move around in your hips. A full breath here. Ground, let your head dangle. Feel rooted in your hands and feet. Take a little time to just explore how you feel in this pose. What do you want to open? What do you want to move? How does your breath support it? And then we'll walk our feet forward, come to Uttanasana, forward fold. Relax your head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Try pedaling your feet here, maybe bending one knee. Blocks onto your hands if you like that or want that. And just start to invite some of that range of motion all the way up into the hip joints. Feel the bottom of your feet, maybe rock up onto your toes and back onto your heels and wake up some of that balancing, weight-bearing capacity. And then fold and melt. Push through your feet, rising up. Inhale, reach. On your next breath in, we'll cactus, open our chest, spread our wings, and then exhale and bring your hands to your heart. Pick up your head, pause for a moment again in that centered place. Feel your feet, close your eyes, have your breath. Inhale, arms up. Breath in as you exhale, folding forward. Relax your head. A halfway lift, expand open. Exhale, release again. Back to a dog pose. Feel extension and length in the body. Ground yourself. Take some opportunity to feel your breathing again. Let's come forward into a plank. Push the ground away. As you start to feel the engines of your core turn on, notice the regulation of your breath while still stabilizing. All right, find the ground. You can put your knees down first if you need. Inhale, cobra pose. Open chest. Exhale, melting back down. Elbows back, shoulder blades down. Press your legs, engage your core. Inhale up. Exhale, coming back down. Let's try one more. Rising on the in-breath. Melting on the out-breath. Coming up onto your hands and your knees. Move around in your spine again. And then we'll bring our right foot forward. Come to a lunge. Lift your back knee up off the ground. And enjoy that stretch through the hip flexor of that back leg. Feel that length through the extension of your leg. And let's go ahead and bend and straighten. Notice where your breath is living. Ground yourself, feel your roots push down, rise up. Press and lunge, open up through your heart. See if you can draw the ribs in a little bit. Feel that groundedness of your legs supporting the reach of your spine. Hands come down onto the ground, back foot forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step your right foot back, finding that opening in your hip here. Lengthen through that right hip. Enjoy. And then we'll start to move with the rhythm of your breathing, straightening the front legs, squaring the hips. Then bending that knee again. How's your breath? Follow the rhythm of your breathing. Enjoy opening up all the way from your crown to your tail, all the way through your hamstrings to your feet. And then we'll stay in our lunge, ground for a moment so you know the connection to the earth, and then rise up. Maybe the arms come up, maybe your arms are wider, maybe your hands are at your hips. Root into your legs, push down to rise up. See if you can knit the ribs in a little bit, find a little bit of core in this pose. And hands come down onto the ground, back to a dog. Walk your feet forward, come to Uttanasana. Halfway lift. Melt again. Turn sideways on your mat and wide legs. Drop into a deep squat, elbows inside your knees, maybe a little rocking. Just invite some range of motion in those inner thighs, opening up. And then inhale, standing star. Exhale, come down to a goddess. Pause here for a moment and just pulse your legs a few times, or pulse your pelvis up and down a few times. Grounding through the four corners of your feet, just turning on some of those outer hip muscles, your glutes, your quads. Try not to lean over. Knit your ribs in, find a little core. Inhale, standing up. Turn your right foot out, find your way to a Parsva Konasana. Open up through the side of your body, enjoy that length. Find your breath. Ground through both feet. See if you can track that knee right over the middle toes, so we're really allowing that front leg to do some work in the hip joint. And push through that foot. Come up to stand, standing star. One more time, down to a goddess. Hands maybe to your heart or maybe up in the air, whatever feels good. Pulse a few times here. Open up the knees. Ground through the four corners of your feet. And then a standing star. And we'll do that Parsva over to the other side. Extending through your side body. Try to not smush up your low back on that left side. See if you can move the tail toward the back right foot. Notice if your toes are scrunched up. See if you can spread things out and find your breath. And then from here, we'll straighten the legs, turn both feet forward, wide legs. Drop down into Pasrita and find your breath. Dangle your head or touch your head to a block or the ground, your choice. And then we'll turn back to the front of your mat for a dog. Bring those legs closer together, hip width apart, enjoy. And maybe even turn your toes in for a moment, just so you have a little release of the inner thighs. Feel the internal rotation of the femur bones. And then find neutral feet again. Come forward into a plank. Push the ground away, root into your index finger mounds. So easy to lean into the outer wrists, whole hand support. Put your knees down onto the ground and find the earth. Take your hands underneath your head, wide legs, and lift just your legs. And then release and melt that. Pick up your feet, neutral knees, windshield wiper your knees left and right. Just relax your hips a moment. And then put your legs down and just take this opportunity to feel your breath again. All right, come on to all fours and transfer over onto your back. Put your feet on the ground. Knees, feet are hip width apart. And you can put a block between your legs if you'd like to. I'm not going to today. We're going to bring our hands, first pattern, just hands, palms facing up, down on our sides. We're going to lift up, so just the bottom tips of our shoulder blades are on the ground. Make sure your head feels okay. You can always put your hands behind your head for a little head support if need be. But if your hands are here, palms stay up, and reach your right arm to right fingers toward your right foot. So a little side bending, and then over to the left. Just wake up those obliques. One more time, over to the right. And then over to the left. And notice if you forgot to breathe the whole way through, come back down and notice if your head took a lot of strain. This time we're going to do it with some head support. So hands underneath the base of your skull, like a little pillow. When we lift up, try not to pull on your head, but see if you can rest your head into your hands. Think of your hands as the pillow for your head. So again, lifting, so just the shoulder blade bottoms are on the ground, and now our elbows toward our feet. Over to the right, and then over to the left. Nice and supported head. Over to the right. How are you breathing? And then over to the left. Come back to center and rest to come back down. Now, how did that make you feel with your head? You know, you can now choose. We have some choices. If you don't want to hold your head, you don't have to. You could have your arms up in the air instead. But this time so no more block, we'll lift our legs up in the air. You can do this with straight legs. You can do this with bent legs, okay? I'm going to bend my knees only because I'm going to hit my furniture if I keep my legs straight. Leg straight is a little bit more challenging than knees bent, okay? So your choice with stabilizing your core to protect your back, so we're not letting our ego run the show, but letting our body run the show. Knit your ribs down toward the ground. Start to stabilize through the center body. You can have your hands behind your head resting on that pillow, your head resting on the hand pillow. Right leg comes down toward the ground. Lift your right chest toward your left knee and back to center. So rotating. So you can do this like I am with the leg in the air is bent, and then you straighten your other leg, or you can do this with two legs straight, where you lower a straight leg down and back up again. Okay, so whatever you're doing, we're breathing, crossing your chest toward the knee or leg that's not moving. Getting some rotation. So the obliques are in charge of lateral movement and rotation. How's your breath? All right, and then we'll rest and put our feet down. Bring your hands onto your ribs or your belly and just recommune with your breath. All right, we'll roll over onto our right side. You can always stack a block underneath your head or put your arm underneath your head, whatever feels good to you. And we'll stack our bodies straight. So we're on a single line. Okay. Bring your hand onto your hip. And I like this position because it helps me figure out if my hips are moving. But if you need a little more stability, you can put your hand down in front of you on the ground. Okay. Lift that leg in the air, left leg in the air, right leg grounds into the earth. Find your core here. And then if you feel stable and you're not wobbling, lift that arm in the air. Just find that stabilization onto the ground. Press your torso, hip, leg into the ground. Breathe. Even though your core has to do a lot of work here, can you breathe? All right, and then relax. Bend your knees, bring your knees just a teeny bit closer so that you're at ease here. And we'll just wake up some of those outer hip muscles that we're going to need when we stand back up with some clamshells. So again, you can have your hand on your hip or your hand in front of you. I like the hand on the hip because it helps me know if I'm rotating, if I'm kind of rolling back and forth. Try to stack your hip over the other hip, and we're just opening up the knee and closing it back up. Clamshells. Now the grounding, your right leg is grounding into the earth just as much as your left leg is lifting to the sky. So even though it feels like a one-sided pose, that right leg is finding the strength to stabilize you on the ground as you open up that left knee. Feet stay together. How's the breathing? Can you still remember all that good spacious breath we had in the beginning of class? Try not to roll your torso or pelvis back and forth, nice and stacked. And then this last one will hold. Hold it open, find your core, press your leg into the ground. And then keeping it open, straighten your leg in the air. So it's not a big lift, but it's a little bit of a lift. Press your right leg into the ground. And then release and melt that. And just relax for a moment and soften into the breath. And then we'll, when you're ready, roll to the other side. Okay, so now our left leg is grounded on the earth. We're going to start in a straight line. Okay, you can support your head with a block or with your arm. Body is straight. Okay, so we'll do the clamshell second. You can put your hand on your hip if you'd like, or your hand in front of you, whichever you prefer. Lift your leg in the air. Right leg lifts. Toes pointing forward, outer hips are engaged, but it's not just your hips. Your core is helping here. So find those obliques, find the transverse abdominis, and we'll lift the arm in the air if you feel stable enough to do so. Try not to take the pressure of this pose in your neck. Find the strength in your legs, your hips, and your core. How's your breath? All right, and then we'll lower that leg back down and bend your knees. Rest for a moment. This should feel more fatigued on this side because, even though it feels like a one-sided thing, we've already used your legs for the other side, both of them. All right, clamshells, hand on your hip or hand on the ground in front of you. Our hips are stacked. Our right hip is right over our left hip, our right chest over our left chest, and we're not rolling back and forth, okay? We're staying nice and stable and still. Our feet stay together and we're just opening up the knee and then bringing it back together, like opening a clamshell and closing a clamshell. Now see if you can stay rooted with that left leg into the ground. So it's as much of work in your left leg as it is in your right. How's your breath? Are you relaxed in your upper body? Are you staying stable with your torso and pelvis, not rolling? Are you able to breathe? And just notice, how does the side feel compared to the other side? I mean, yes, we're probably a little more fatigued, but do you have more or less awareness, control, stability, strength? You know, what is your body doing on this side? What I notice is that it's a little harder for me to press my left leg into the ground than it was for me to press my right leg into the ground. I don't know what you're noticing. And then when you're ready, we'll hold the last one, hold open. Find your core to help. And then we'll lift that leg in the air. Stretch your leg straight. Left leg presses into the ground just as much as the right leg's lifting. Nice and stable, tail toward the foot. And then let's release back down. Okay. All right, relax, roll over onto your back. A big star on the ground, open your body up. And then exhale, bring your knees into your chest and let's rock a little bit. Before we come up, let's just do a bridge to kind of stabilize and neutralize and find symmetry in the pelvis. So ground through your feet, four corners of your feet. Take a deep breath in and we'll lift up into a full bridge. Okay, try not to let your neck be the burdened part of your body. Ground into the four corners of your feet, open your chest, press into the ground. The back muscles should be working here. The core, the glutes, or not the core, but the glutes should be working strongly. Let the breath happen. And then lower your pelvis back down. And let's windshield wiper your knees left and right. Grab a block and put it in your hands, the widest width of the block. Feet are hip width apart on the ground, knees bent. Hands on that block. And now engage your core. Draw your ribs down toward the ground, stabilize, and see if you can keep that nice and stable as you lift your arms overhead with the block. Go as far as you can, keeping the core nice and stable as you drop the block down toward the ground and then back up over your chest. Maybe do two more, nice and slow. Take a pause at your longest place. Maybe it's touching the ground, maybe not that far, but pause there. Root the ribs, ground the feet. Notice your throat and your neck. See if you can not take the tension there. And then back up, hands right over your chest one last time. Bring the block overhead. Stabilize your core, root the ribs. Find your breath. Pause wherever you are. And then we'll lift the arms back up. Okay. Release the block. Come rolling onto your side and come up into a dog pose. As you extend upward, notice the freedom in your body. Take a little time. Pedal your feet if you'd like. Move through the breath. And then we'll come down onto our knees one more time. And we're going to come into a forearm plank. And we're going to transition this into a side plank. But first we'll do a forearm plank. So forearms on the ground. Stretch your heels back. and find your breath. And again, ground the hands, the forearms, shoulder blades down the back, but we're finding the breath. Finding the breath. All right, and then put your knees down. And I forgot to say, you can always have your knees down. You can 100% can always have your knees down for these postures. And now we're going to come on to our side. So as we find, let's do the right arm first. As we find the forearm, we want the forearm to be perpendicular to our mat. Now you can keep your hips down to begin and drop your shoulders down away from the ears. And maybe your knees stay bent and you lift up just a little bit with your knees bent. Maybe your bottom leg stays bent and you straighten the top leg and put that foot on the ground. Or maybe you do the variation where both your legs are straight and you're lifting up and nothing's touching the ground except your forearm and your outside of your foot. So whichever choice you're going to make, hopefully you've kind of experimented a little bit. We're going to lift up and find your breath. Press your forearm into the ground. Lots of side body. Reach that arm up in the air. Lift your hips. Breathing deeply. And then lower your body down, and then we'll come to the second side. Now, especially if you've got something going on with your shoulder, be very mindful. You know, your two sides don't have to look the same. Like I've got a little something going on with this shoulder, so I'm not sure how this is going to feel. I may not want to do the full variation. I might want to keep my leg down or my hip down. So you find the version that's right for you, and you can kind of experiment and just see, oh, yep, nope, you know, and just kind of adjust as you go. Lift on up, shoulder blades down the back, breathe. Find your breath in. Make sure that you are using your core and your breath. Shoulder blades down the back. All right, and then we'll bring your body down. Come back onto all fours and just move around. Let some freedom happen. Let some breath happen. If you found yourself kind of holding the breath or getting real tight because there was a lot of stability required, let your body out for a ride now. Okay, curl the toes under and lift again to a dog. Ground yourself. Full breath in, full breath away. And then we'll walk our feet forward, come to Uttanasana. A halfway lift, lengthening up through your spine. Then exhale, release your skull, relax. Push through your feet, rising up. Trace down through the center. Pause here for a moment. Bring your breath out for a ride. Open up all the gates. And then release your hands down. We're going to move toward Ardha Chandrasana, but let's do a warrior pose first to each side, and then we'll move into Ardha Chandrasana. So wide-legged stance. Turn your right foot out and just find that stability of the wide body and the standing posture, getting used to being upright again. Drop your shoulders, gaze out over your fingers, and find the strength of this pose, the embodiment of the warrior, you know, this courage and fortitude that we have we take up a lot of room. How's the breath? All right, maybe you want to reverse that warrior. Just get a nice stretch in your side body. So we open up those ribs and obliques, and then we'll come back to center and turn ourselves to the second side. Virabhadrasana 2 here. Humble your warrior just a little bit. That doesn't mean, come into humble warrior, but just recognize that you can be confident and courageous, but also feel that this is coming from a place of offering yourself to the world in your most stable place. And so, what are your gifts that you can offer? And when you do, when you feel grounded and stable, isn't it better? Don't you do a better job of offering your gifts when you're feeling grounded and stable? Breathe deeply. Stretch through to your hands. Gaze out over those fingers. Drop the shoulders. Find the strength of your legs. Feel the rootedness of your legs. Take up lots of space in your breath and in your body. And then maybe we'll reverse that warrior so you stretch through your side and open up your ribs. And then release that. And heel toe your feet in until you're back to a neutral stance. Let's pause a moment to find our grounding and our breath. Notice what's below your feet, the mat, and any other surface below your mat. Make contact, go lower, go deeper with the sensing of where your feet are. Unlock all the gates. Notice your breath. Even though we're having to do so much stabilizing, can we remember to infuse our breath into our body? And then we'll come back to wide legs. And we'll turn our right foot out. And you can come into this pose just from standing, from a Parsvottanasana, from a triangle pose, however you like to transition into Ardha Chandrasana. Remember, we want to keep that foot planted really well. We're not letting our foot turn in or out. And when we come up into the posture, our hand can be on a block. You can take the hand a little further out to the pinky toe side for a little more stability. And when you come into here, notice if your back is arched. See if you can root the core, ribs in, find those obliques and your transverse abdominis to support you, and then lift that leg. Use those hip muscles, tail toward your foot in the air, and open your chest. Can you breathe here? Don't worry if you fall down. Stability will come. For first, just find your openness and breath and your stability. And then if your pose can get bigger and broader and wider and more open, that's great. But try to not, drop and droop into the pose. All right, and then whenever you're ready to come out of there, take a moment to ground your legs one more time, to notice how nice it is to have 2 feet on the ground, to enjoy all this contact that we have. Train your mind to just settle into the body. And then we'll find our way to the other side. Grounding through your foot. You can always do this pose against a wall if you need help. So you know all the things. Keep your foot rooted. When we come up, you can have that block a little wider if you need a little more grounding. It's a very easy pose to arch your back in, so let's not. Keep the ribs, floating ribs drawn in. Move the tail toward the foot in the air. Use those outer hip muscles and the obliques that we've worked so hard to open ourselves to. And then notice the breath. Is it here with you? Drop your shoulder blades down. Try not to take the tension in your neck. Full breaths here. That enlivened core, that enlivened pelvis, lots of support for your pose. Unlock your standing knee. Feel the deep ground of your foot on the earth. All right, and then when you want and feel ready, step out from whence you came. And one last time, let's just feel our Tadasana for a moment. Ground yourself. Be so thankful for our balance, the way our nervous system is working so perfectly to help us stand up and stay balanced. Let's be thankful for our breath and the feeling of groundedness that our breath can offer to our body. And inhale, arms up. Exhale. Let your movements be like a prayer. Inhale, halfway lift. Back to a dog. Feel that extension. Full breaths. Inhale, forward to a plank. Lower yourself all the way down. Find a cobra on an inhale. And then exhale. And relax. Child's pose. Settle your hips back and surrender your body. Feel an ease come to your forehead. Relax here. Breathe all the way down to your tailbone. All right, let's come on to our back and take this last bit of time before Shavasana to free your body up in the way that your body needs. Maybe your hips need a stretch, maybe your spine needs a twist. Just see, what is it that your body is calling for? If you had a way to complete your practice, what is the pose of choice? Listen to that inner knowing about what it is that you're supposed to be doing to complete your practice. I know I love being guided in my yoga practice too by a teacher, but sometimes the very best practices are the ones where you just follow the instincts of the body instead of following, an idea of a sequence. Sometimes the sequence just evolves naturally, where you don't have to think too much in the mind, but instead just let the body be in charge of where the poses go. There's blind spots and pitfalls in that type of practice as well. We can tend to only do the poses we like. So whatever it is that you're finding now, let's start to settle ourselves into Shavasana. And if you're not ready yet, if you're still doing some stretches, that's great. If you need any support in your Shavasana, take it. Pause a moment to just let your body breathe here. A deep inhale. Surrender through the exhale. Invite a little bit of breath into our body. Maybe inviting a little bit of movement. Can be small little movements or bigger movements. Will eventually find your way to your side. As you take your time, take a breath there. And we'll eventually bring ourselves up to a comfortable seat. Notice your breath. Ground yourself one more time. Release tension. Let's offer the gifts of our practice, our presence. Send your love and care to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.